Mr. Kumar, where were you born?
I grew up in Bombay. My parents are from Punjab. They moved into Bombay during their lifetime, so I was brought up in Bombay. I've educated mainly in boarding schools. So I went to Wellams in Dehradun for a couple of years when I was fairly young, and then to Mayo College in Ajmer for 8 odd years. I came back, did my college in Bombay, started medical college when my father expired, and we had a small business, so I needed to work along with education, gave up medicine, and ended up graduating in maths. So I'm a maths honors from Bombay University, and I have an elder brother. Size of the business not large enough, so I then sat for a entrance exam, got into IIM Calcutta, which is one of the MBA institutes of India, and have led a professional work life since then. So I worked in FMCG for a couple of years, been an investment banker for 9-10 years, and been an asset manager now for close to 11 years. So it's been a very satisfying life so far, enjoyed it. Lots of professional challenges, few twists and turns, which are always interesting.
How does someone establish a savings plan for a lifetime?
Very clearly, I think it's important to understand power of compounding. So the earlier you start, the much nicer. I'll give you a little statistic. We did this calculation some time back. Take an individual who starts at the age of 25, 26, starts to work, will work for approximately 35 years of his life, starts at a salary of 10,000 rupees a month, which is what a lot of graduates start at. For the initial 4-5 years, has no ability to save. Thereafter starts saving approximately 10%, 25% of his monthly salary. He gets a 10% increment every year for the 35 years that he works. So every year his income grows by 10%. So by the time he retires at the age of 60, he is making approximately 2,80,000 rupees a month. And towards the end part of his life, he's being able to save nearly 50% of his income. That individual will end up saving approximately 1,60 lakhs in his entire life. If he puts that money into a bank deposit and earns roughly 5-6% return on it, that will grow to approximately 2.7, 2.8 crores. If he were to put it into an asset allocation fund, which gives him approximately 12% return with a balance of equity markets and debt, that would go to nearly 9 crores. And if he was to put it purely into equities, and equities gave say over 16-17% return on a CAGR basis during that life period, he would make upwards of 15 crores. So depending on the return. So hence we believe there's a huge potentiality for two people who sort of start life very similarly, but have very different investing habits to end life dramatically differently.
Why should someone use an asset management firm such as yours?
Not only mine, you could do it with a number of asset management companies in India. You would basically look back and try to find good quality equity fund managers who have stayed in a particular fund house for a period of time, so hence show some level of stability, have delivered fairly long-term performances for the funds that they manage, and you would start a systematic investment plan in say 3 or 4 of those equity funds that you would identify to just get some diversity of fund manager risk, and you would maintain that SIP right through your life. But having said that, if you're targeting the 15 crore plus target, what you should also realize is the bulk of your money is in equities, or nearly all of your money is in equities. So hence the return profile will be highly volatile, and there'll be periods when there will be severe corrections in equity markets, and at that point of time you will have a fairly illiquid portfolio, and it's be at the wrong time to take money out. So if you go with this strategy, you should only put that much amount of money that you will not need in emergency. So you will not need to ever pull out, and hence be able to remain invested to benefit from the compounding, to overcome the volatilities in the market. But typically you would find 4 good equity funds and do a SIP in them for your life. And obviously your working life is much longer than the working career of some of the fund managers, so you may have to change a few fund managers during that 35-year working period.
If you take any of your funds, how do you select which stocks to buy within it?
Different funds have different philosophy. Let me talk you through our equity philosophy. Maybe that will help. Different fund houses have different ways of approaching the way they look at markets. Our way of looking at markets is to themes and trends. We believe India is a very young economy, and it's changing very rapidly as the demographic trends in India change, as consumption patterns change, as growth rate start exceeding 8% GDP growth rates, and hence we look at themes and trends that are currently prevailing in markets, and we try to pick those. So when a company comes and talks to us and says, we are doing 25% CAGR earnings growth for the last 3 years, and we think we'll be able to sustain this for the next 3 years, what interests us is what is the underlying trend that company is benefiting from that allows it to grow at that pace. And we obviously, if we think that is sustainable and we agree with the company's view, we then start evaluating that company on the basis of quality of management, cost of stock, how expensive is the stock, what's the valuation risk, liquidity risk, and then decide whether we wish to buy it in our portfolio or not. But more importantly, we will also then analyze which other sectors and stocks could be benefiting from the similar trend, and it will open up a much wider universe of stocks for us to look at. So every successful company which has shown very high growth is usually playing a trend or a theme. So if you took, say, technology as a sector in India, has been much spoken about. It emerged in the late 1990s, and it emerged at that point of time because the world was going through the 2K, the changeover to the millennium, and hence people were very fearful that systems would stop operating when the clock ticked over on 99 into 2000, and there was a significant or a disproportionate amount of investment that happened in technology because you had a very short period of time to correct your systems, and there was a peaking of technology spends, and because there was a time frame crunch, a lot of the work got outsourced, which is where Indian companies started to first get outsourcing work from global players. They soon discovered that there was a huge demographic trend underlying that, and that trend was the fact that India produced a very large number of cheap graduates annually, and hence for processing work there was a huge arbitrage opportunity between the Indian markets and the global markets, and this was sustainable because for many years India would continue to produce cheap graduates. It would take many years of employment for entry level graduation pays to get to a level where that arbitrage would start becoming zero. So hence on the back of that, the technology sector has even today continued to benefit. It has obviously gone up the value curve, it's doing better quality outsourcing, etc. But the underlying trend is its ability to hire large volumes of people at very reasonable costs, and hence become the processing powerhouse of the world.